Hello and welcome to the Super Six, brought to you by Octaine Racing, a union between Octaine and Flamme Rouge Racing. Alongside me, Emma Martin, is indeed Nathan Craig. Nathan, it's fabulous to be here with you for the racing today. We are going to be bringing you all of the action from Europe, the Alpha and Beta races today. Nathan, this is a global team event that runs through to March. Teams are made up of 5 riders, but there are 6 roles per squad, aren't there?
That's right, exactly right. So we've got in the roles, we have the GC, we've got the general classification rider, we've got 2 sprinters, and 2 climbers. Now, these riders are all nominated within the team, so every rider will know their role coming into this race.
Well, and it's a points race today. There are other races across the series, scratch races and time trials, but today we are kicking off with a points race where only riders in those roles can score for their teams at certain places in the race today.
That's right. So as I mentioned, with those riders, we've got the sprinters, so they can only score points on the nominated sprint segments, and the same goes for the climbers. So the climbers can only score points on those comms segments within the course. So even if a sprinter goes hard on a climb, they're not going to get anything for it. And then, of course, we've got the GC, and their goal is to finish as high as they can over the entire race against all of the other GCs in the same event.
So our viewers need to be watching, because our riders have indeed, or should have, put CL for climber by their name, SP for sprinter by their name, and GC for the GC contender. So our viewers will be able to see, it should be that the climbers come to the fore at the climb points, the sprinters come to the fore at the sprint points, and it's the GC riders in contention at the end.
That's correct, exactly right. And of course, that's what we're going to be watching for. And we've also got the 6th role, which is the wild card. Now, the wild card is a challenge allocated for each event, each race, and it can be different for each race. In this particular case, the wild card, the nominated wild card holder, needs to finish in 10th, first across the line on the 2nd sprint segment.
Oh, now that will make it interesting for extra points. Now, Nathan, you raced one of these earlier on in one of the earlier leagues. Hence, you have inside knowledge on team strategies and picking up those points. What do our racers and teams need to be thinking about before the start of the race today?
Well, it's a difficult course, that's for sure. So it's very punchy, very rolling. There aren't a lot of spots there to really sit in and get some good speed up. Now, what they'll be looking for will be to try and stay together, especially for that first half of the race. Now, in the first half, there's only one segment they need to be watching out for, which is the sprint segment at the very start, about 2.2 k's in. But they'll be wanting to work as a team coming into the second half and try and stay together as much as they can. Now, the GCs do need to manage their power as efficiently as possible across the entire race. So that's what they'll be watching out for. And the riders will need to pay particular attention to their positioning coming into the sprints. Now, the sprint segments, all the points in this race are fastest through segment. So what we're going to see is some of the racers dropping back as they come into their sprint segments to try and maximize the draft as they come through the segment and try and gain some of those valuable seconds, particularly at the start of the segment, rather than trying to, blow up at the end. Now, the other thing to note, though, is that there aren't any power-ups in this race either.
Yeah, now that is a really interesting tactic. So it is not about when or how you drop your power up or which one you have. This is purely on the riders in those teams. So let's think about the big picture here, because we've got 3 rounds of 5 races, global regions, promotion and relegation following each of those sets of rounds till we reach the top 5 teams in each region. Then on March the 7th, we have regional finals where 2 regions come together and then another 2 regions come together, so 2 semi-finals, culminating on March the 14th in the overall final where the top teams worldwide will battle it out. Nathan, it's going to be really good right the way through to March, isn't it? And it is going to be cracking to see which teams come out on top and which ones end up in the final.
Absolutely. Look, one thing that Flamme Rouge Racing are known for are for putting together really difficult, almost brutal, if I can use that word, racing series. And this is going to be no different. Certainly, there are some very difficult courses coming up. And race one is a great example of what riders can expect. They're going to have to work together. They're going to have great communication throughout the race. Now, that's one thing that we had in our race a few hours earlier, which was all of the group talking, making sure that we're all across what was happening and where people were on the course, and groups that can do that and really harness the technology they have available to them are going to be the groups that really do excel in this series.
Well, we're on the Royal Pump Room 8 course today in Yorkshire for the very first points race of the Super 6. Nathan, take us through the course.
Okay, so what we're looking at here is a very difficult course. For those that know the Royal Pump Room 8 and have ridden it before, there is lots of punchy climbs in this one, lots of pinches that are going to test a lot of the riders, now especially the sprinters. And we've got the first sprint segment at 2.2 Ks coming into this. Now, it is uphill. It is going to be difficult. And then as we go through, we'll have the Yorkshire Com. So that's about the halfway mark of the race. Straight after that, we're back into another sprint segment, followed by the Yorkshire Com Reverse, as we then head up and finish those last 2.5 climbs with a downhill to the finish. Now, for those that know, it is a difficult course. And to work together, it's going to require some very serious racing technique to make sure that riders are taking advantage of those downhills to recover as best they can coming into the next climb. Certainly, it's going to be very difficult for the sprinters to hang on. It's going to be difficult for the GC to make its way to the very end of the race in the finish line, the finishing position as best they can. And it's going to be difficult for the climbers too, especially with those sprint segments, to try and regroup as quickly as possible.
So I suppose one of the key phrases is don't blow up and listen to your team.
Well, that's the idea. Whether that actually works out that way is going to be a different story.
I'll tell you something. They are all down on the start line at the moment with the final seconds ticking down. The Beta B race goes 1 minute after the Alpha A race. So we're going to see the ACAT riders, the Alpha riders, out of the pen first. Well, and they are up and out on to the course. Now, 15 teams on the Alpha team start sheets today, which makes 75 riders on the start sheets. Those of them in the pen. And you can see, as you take a look around the screen, you've got the names of the riders, the team names, as well as those roles in play. Well, Batty from the Ospreys right out at the front of here at the moment on the front of the pack. Then you can see, look at that, just hanging out on the front. Now, Nathan, there's I'm going to say there's not a lot of point to being out front and off the front at the moment. Interesting tactic from those Ospreys at the start, though.
Yeah, certainly. It's interesting to see how teams are going to approach this and what sort of strategies they come up with. But looking at this, that may have just been a flyer off the front, a bit maybe over anxious or a bit nervous and trying to put the power down quickly. We can see they've come back into the group now. And this is what we found in our race, which was the start of ours was not as fiery or as spicy as other races can be. And I really do think that because the sprinters aren't going to want to be on the front coming into that first sprint segment, that it will naturally bring the speed of the pack down a little bit. And I guess that's what we're seeing here. At 40 Ks an hour, we can see that everyone's sort of maybe side-eyeing each other at the moment, waiting to see what other teams will do in terms of their strategy. And pretty soon we're going to find out, because that first sprint segment is coming up fast.
Yeah, it is. So we're at 1.1 kilometres at the moment in the Cat A race as the Bees come out of the pen. And again, another fast start up to nearly 50 kilometres an hour straight away out the start in the Beta race. Interesting moves here. And you can see exactly what you were talking about, Nathan, the pace going up to get those kilometres up and rolling. But then the pace coming off the front of the pack and settling down. And you can see that because the group is now going wide across the road rather than that long stretch. So they are bringing it back back together again. Now, that first sprint segment, 2.2 kilometres into the race, is an uphill sprint, and the ACAT riders are going to be there first. You can see them now at the 1.6 kilometre marker. The coalition squad right up towards the front at the moment. Curtis in the mix, Schlepp is in the mix, Compton is there as well. But Batu from the Ospreys is out on the front again and absolutely dialing this. And this isn't first across the line. This is fastest through the segment, and we are not at the segment yet.
No, we're getting close, but I'm just looking at their designation, and so we're probably seeing the two riders at the front might be GCs here. And now one of our strategies was to make sure that the GC and the climbers kept the power on through this segment, and we specifically said don't allow the sprinters to dictate the pace here, because they are going to come back. They are going to try and use the rest of that group in front of them as drafting as they come into the sprint segment, which we're about to hit right now.
Yeah, so they come into the first sprint segment, and Batu right on the front here with TB from here. But now we see the sprinters start to move, and Verbruggen is going, Emo is going, Hoffman now starting to move. Foft is there as well, and you can see, look at the pace. There's the banner, but the two riders still off the front here. The Beast Mode squad now coming in at 13 watts per kilo. That is one big sprint. There you go. The SPs all coming to the front here, and the power going down. 10, 11 watts per kilo. Through they go. Harris from Sisu in the mix as well. The sprinters, Anderson coming through for ESRT as well. The sprinters absolutely dialing that.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Did you see the orange numbers right across the board there as they're all giving everything they've got to come through that sprint segment as fast as they can? Now, the important thing to note here, as they've all come through, is all the sprinters are now at the front, and we can see that pack is really stretched out. Now, the question will be, what are they going to do? Are the sprinters going to hold back up now and let the GCs and the climbers reconnect, or will they push on and try and force a gap and discourage some of the other riders from maybe attacking? Let's find out.
Well, it's going to be interesting in that category A. The Alpha squad will be dropping with the Bs. The Beta squad, there you go. There's the line for the sprint, and Brooks is on the front. Powles is there as well. Curran is in the mix, but Brooks is the rider pushing. Powles now goes into the orange. The first rider to tip into those numbers at the moment on the right-hand side of your screen. He's right on the front here. Oh, but take a look. Here comes one of the riders. We've got 11, 10, 12 watts per kilo. Hilton is coming from level, really fast from behind, and coming from the back, going to the front, Nathan. Really utilising the draft here. Key to getting the fastest time. There you go. Hilton from level comes through. Muller comes through. Stromberg comes through. Some fast times, but it's not about who goes over the line first. It's about who is the fastest, and it's often not the rider at the front of the pack.
That's absolutely correct. And this is what we were talking about a bit earlier on. It's that positioning that the riders really need to dial in. And this is what it comes down to, pure racing in terms of putting yourself in the right spot. You want to be the one going almost at the last, but you don't want to be the last rider going. And so that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing some of the riders going across the line first, but it's really, as you said, Emma, those riders that are a bit further back that will have the benefit of that draft as they come through, getting the faster times.
Well, Hagendorf from Coalition there, 12, 13 watts per kilo in that beta race sprint. It's going to be interesting to see. Now, if you want to know what points the riders score, you are going to need to head over to the results page, because it is, of course, a points race, fastest through the segment as well. And we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end of the race, where you can go and take a look at those team points. But take a look. We've got the riders on the screen just proving that there are faces behind those avatars. Alex Murphy on the left-hand side of your screen. Chris Lawrence from Yorkshire. The Yorkshire flag is flying for Chris Lawrence. Simon Walter from Germany in the mix as well as Christoph Thiem in that beast mode jersey. I love this.
That is so fantastic to see.
Their worlds.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Like, it's great seeing them. Everyone in their own pain caves there. They're all focusing. You can see they're laser focused at the moment. But it's wonderful seeing them all riding, all participating, all contributing to this. It really is a spectacular aspect of esports.
It is. And Christoph Thiem, the rider on the right-hand side, who was just on our screen, is the GC rider for the Beast Mode Lions. But he's also the wild card. And that's an interesting strategy, isn't it, Nathan, as to whether your wild card is your GC rider here, because they've got to get to that second sprint and be in contention at the front of the race, or whether it is your sprinter, because it is a sprint segment.
That's right. Although you could have nominated a climber as well, because the sprint segment, unfortunately, is at the top of a climb. So there are a couple of different ways that the riders could, the teams could go here. And this will be one of the things that will be interesting to see, especially for the teams racing after this. What are these teams doing? Who have they selected as a wildcard entry? How they approach this? And I'm sure there's lots of teams here that will be taking notes and going to school on what's happening right here.
Well, and that is one of the things, isn't it, that we do see teams such as the Beast Mode Lions, who we've got on our screen at the moment, and you can see the different roles allocated to those riders and racers. It is about different strategies for different teams, depending upon the makeup of your teams. You've got to play to your team strengths as well as the strategy to do the best you can in the race.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I found as a team captain was trying to manage those riders and choose the best riders that you have available to you for this particular race. Now, this is going to be a mainstay of this racing series, where the team captain needs to go in and select his roster or their roster each week and choose the right riders for the course they're racing. Now, in this case, with the climbers, they are going to have a little bit of an advantage here, especially with some of these climbs. They're not particularly long, but they are sharp, and it's going to be difficult for the sprinters to stay on, especially towards the end of the race. Now, choosing the wild card, as you mentioned, Emma, in this particular case, talking about a sprinter having the wild card, that could be a good choice. We allocated for our GC to have the wild card so that they could essentially stay with the group as best they can towards the end of the race and be there in the finishing. So, definitely lots of different ways of approaching this, but it's going to be great to watch how they've done this.
Dirty Beasts have gone for a sprinter, not a GC rider. Interesting move. I really am looking forward to that wildcard section to just see which one of these strategies plays off, and whether, well, you mentioned something a little bit earlier, Nathan, about the fact that riders and racers who are racing later leagues or later regions or time slots can drop in and take a look and a watch at some of the streams and the shows to take a look and see what tactics and strategies work. It's an interesting move, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And it's part of what we are all participating in. You need to embrace that technology. You know people are going to be streaming their rides. You know people are going to be looking at what they've done to see, okay, what worked, what didn't work, how did they go, and then taking those good points and maybe either validating them against their own strategies or maybe making some last-minute changes, which I fully expect is going to happen.
Yeah, so Brooks off the front of the pack at the moment in the B race. That's an interesting move. Bike Republic Beta are on your squads at the moment. So an interesting ride and an interesting range of teams that we've just shown on the screen in terms of those team competitions. And it's going to be really good to see how those team tactics play out. Well, at the moment in the beta race, as we said, Brooks from ART is off the front of the race. Just showing us the climbing legs. We are on one of the earlier climbs, but not one of the climb segments that takes account in the race.
That's right. This climb is not going to count towards any points in this race, but it could be that the climbers here are going to sort of press that front a little bit, maybe cause a bit of a panic, maybe cause a bit of a stir in the group chasing. But in this particular case, we saw that group hang back and this gap start to open. Now, whether Brooks continues this through to try and get, well, good placement for the next comms segment will remain to be seen. But as we mentioned, it is fastest through segment. It's not about who crosses the line first. And so whether this is going to pay off, well, difficult to see.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? I, for one, love a draft. I love to sit on a wheel and save as much energy as possible. But the down and dirty Buto's on our screen at the moment. This is Chris Lawrence's squad. We saw him earlier on our screen. We saw that glimpse into the pain cave. He is one of the sprinters. Seb Wolf taking the wild card in this one of the climbers. So we have now seen the dynamics of a number of squads on our screen. And interestingly, some of them have gone for GC riders, some of them have gone for climbers, and some of them have gone for sprinters. So every single combination for the wild card has been selected.
We're certainly seeing all those different ideas, those different strategies in play in one race, which is going to be great because we can look back then and go, okay, well, which one worked, which one didn't? And of course, it's going to come down to how strong was the particular rider that was afforded that wild card as well. You know, are they going to be great or are they going to be bonking towards the end of the race on that second climb? So, and they aren't, you know, as I mentioned before, they aren't long climbs, but they are punchy. So if you've got a sprinter who is feeling good, they can certainly be right up the front there, helping to direct the speed of the group two. And what we found in our race was a couple of the team members of our opposing teams would be sitting back in the pack with us. And then as the speed of the pack got faster, they would be bringing it back a little bit. So certainly lots of different ways to play this out.
Yeah, and at the moment we've just dropped back in with the Alpha team. They're no longer on the climb, they're on the descent. And the pack, look at that, just sweeping up the breakaway rider from Beast Mode. Batty from the Ospreys, Harris is in the mix, so is Gorossi and Keo into the mix. Mark Santo from Beast Mode is there, another one of the very strong German riders here today. There's a real mix of riders here, and interesting to see Beast Mode really playing a part here, having gone off the front of the pack on the climb into the descent. The pack comes back together. They're at 10.2 kilometres now in the race. And the first climb, the Yorkshire King of the Mountains, where the next set of points will be picked up, starts at 12.1 kilometres. It's 1.2k in length, and it's got an average gradient of 5.5%. Nathan, in your race, did that first climb split the pack?
It did stretch the pack. There's no question about that. And it was difficult as a sprinter getting back on and trying to work together with my team. Our GC and our climbers had pushed ahead on that climb. It's not a sensationally long climb, but it's enough that with a sprint in the legs, some of the riders there are going to find themselves tailing off the back there. But it will be a trick now for whoever is the GC there to make sure that they're working with the climbers as best they can. Now, the other thing is they'll be coming into this segment from a downhill. So positioning will be super hard because riders will naturally drift towards the front of the race. So any climber expecting to try and hang back and use the draft of the other riders in front of them, because it is draftable towards the start anyway, they're going to unfortunately be pushed towards the front, coming in over that bridge before the climb starts. So how they handle this will be difficult for lots of riders.
Well, dropping back in with Murphy, Lawrence, Walter and Thiem, and you can see the work already being done, and the look of concentration on Simon Walter's face. He's not batting an eyelid away from that screen. He really is a picture of concentration. You can see the fans blowing in Alex Murphy's pain cave, fluttering the pictures on the back wall, trying to keep him cool.
And I'm liking Chris's setup too there with the blue lights. Maybe that's a subtle a mental thing to try and help stay cool during this race.
Well, staying cool and keeping your head and keeping that strategy when the road goes upwards is going to be absolutely key. And on the Alpha race now, small breakaway of riders. Beast Mode again bringing it back down. So interesting, a number of the Sisu riders just pushing clear there. Curtis is in the mix there. Wilson, both from the Sisu squad. So you can see there, part and parcel of that breakaway. And Beast Mode bringing the group back over. There it is, all back together again at the 12.2 kilometre marker. The climb has started. This is the Yorkshire King of the Mountains. This is where the next set of points are, and we've got a big push on the front here from one of the Watt squad's climbers.
Yep, you can see the climbers all started rushing through the group just at the start of that segment there. So now it's going to be interesting to see what are they going to do. Can they keep that kind of power on? And I'm watching the numbers here. We're talking 450, 500, 550 watts as they're all coming into this climb. That's pretty significant, even at this level, to hold on to that for this length of climb. And then, of course, I wonder what the communication is with the rest of the team. Are they talking? Are they giving any kind of feedback as to the distance they created for the gap there? Are the GCs trying to work with them to stay towards the front so they can regroup after this climb? Because as soon as this climb's finished, we've got maybe about 2 Ks before we hit the next sprint segment.
Well, I'll tell you something. David Don from the Beast Mode Gorillas, the second Beast Mode squad. There's the Lions and the Gorillas in here. They've got David Don on the climb at the moment. Now, the second Beast Mode rider, Mark Santo, is riding and racing for the Beast Mode Lions. So they are on separate squads. It's not like we've got 2 climbers from the same Beast Mode team off the front at the moment. So the Lions right at the front here with Mark Santo, and he is such a strong climber, he really is. So is David Don. But I can tell you there's a third Beast Mode rider in there. There's a fourth Beast Mode rider in there. They are absolutely packing this A-race on the climb here in Yorkshire. And it's Santo that goes underneath the banner in 1. But will it be the fastest time? Because if it is, that's what's going to pick him up with the points. But what a climb. And look at that. There's a group now of riders. I'm running that 6 riders off the front of this race, and Simon Walter is on the same squad as Mark Santo. So the Beast Mode Lions, well, they've packed it at the front.
They're absolutely dominating this, aren't they? They really are pushing that front, and those power numbers there were insane. Coming through that banner was just really impressive to see. But as you say, though, it's not about the first across the line, it's about the fastest through segment. And as we often see, the ones with the fastest through segment, those FTS times, are the ones that are a bit behind the play there, that are kind of come through. They're using the draft. They're being as efficient as possible coming into this. They're the ones that typically end up getting the points.
Yeah, well, the Beast Mode riders now coming towards the back of the group. You can see Santo now in the draft. That's the Alpha race underway. They're up and over that first climb and heading towards sprint number 2, which is not far away. It's less than 2 kilometres from the top of climb 1 to the start of sprint 2. And of course, that is the wild card section. So expected to be fast and furious on that transition. This is the beta race, though, and they've got 200 metres to go before. Well, they don't actually, because they've just hit that red line. This is the start of the climb for the beta group, and they're wide across the road at the moment. But you can see already, Nathan, riders coming from the back of the group, working their way through the group. Now, this is in effort to get that fastest time through this segment, isn't it?
That's exactly right. And one of the things I told my team, especially on this climb, because this is where we predicted that the gaps would open up that would finish this race, especially with that sprint segment coming so soon after this climb segment is completed. And so we wanted to make sure that our GC was in touch with that front group as best as possible, without blowing up, of course, to make sure that at the very least, the 3 of them, our 2 climbers and our GC, could work together for the remainder of the race. Now, whether the sprinters can hold on here and they don't get dropped, that will remain to be seen. But certainly, we'd expect to see some of the GCs really staying towards that front group and maximising their finishing points.
Yeah, we're dropping back in with the Alpha squad because I said it was a close transition between climb 1 and sprint 2, and this is going in for sprint 2. And Harris, Theme, oh, they are all in here. Keogh's in here as well, but the big push is on. Harris, Theme, Leveler in here too. They're all pushing. Wilson, whoa, and I've got 12 watts per kilo coming out from Chris from ATR2 as well at the moment. That's the wild cards going through as well, and as well as those sprinters. That was indeed the wild card sprint. We knew it was going to be fast and furious, but take a look at the top right-hand corner of the screen. Look at the damage done to the front of that group.
That is just insane. But we know that this was typically going to happen. But at the same time, to have to sprint after a 2-3 minute effort coming up that climb is just fantastic to watch. I mean, you just don't get to see this kind of action typically in a race. And it's really down to that whole FTS, the choice of the FTS for these segments that I think that's doing this.
Well, Seb is right on the front of this race at the moment because this is the beta race and they are just coming to the top of that King of the Mountains now. Campbell coming up really fast from behind there and coming on to the back of the group. That has got to be a good effort there from Campbell as well. But still, Yates behind as well, still pushing through that climb, still trying to pick up those points. Now, let's remember, everybody, the sprinters pick up the points on the sprints. The climbers pick up the points on the climbs. You cannot pick up climbs if you cannot pick up climbs. You cannot pick up points on a climb unless you are allocated the climber's role. So it is indeed interesting. So take a look. Climb, 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 climb. All the climbers come to the floor. There's a GC rider in there, though. Hauser from the Britos, making sure they're in a good position and not losing the front of the race.
Absolutely. And one of the things, as I said, we said to our team was if it came down to the climbers hitting that front at this stage of the race with our GC, that their role then was to protect the GC for the remainder of the race, because we've still got 2.5 climbs, punchy points in the race that they still have to contend with, and the climbers were best placed to do this. Now, whether we're going to see that play out for the remainder of these two races, I'm really interested to watch.
Yeah, so the A race, the Alpha group now past Sprint 2 and heading towards climb number 2. Now, that climb comes at the 17.6 kilometre marker. They're 200 metres out. And we've still got a good stretch on the group. Now, the group, well, that is a good part of the group coming together. But I think we've really got a push on here. So the climb comes at 17.6. It's just under 1.2 kilometres with an average gradient of 4.1%. And then there is a significant run to the finish line. I say run to the finish line. It makes it sound like it's downhill. But we're in Yorkshire. There always is some downhill, but there's always some.
There's no downhill. There's no flat.
No, I know.
The start of that...
It's so true in Yorkshire as well.
I was remembering from doing this a few hours ago, the start of this segment is the one that catches a lot of the riders out. If they're not paying attention, coming around that corner, I think the start of that start of the climb, that little pinch tips up at about 7.5%, and it's quite easy to get out of position coming into that. Now, when you hit that roundabout and we bend to the right as we sort of are now, the road does begin to flatten out a little bit. I'm not talking a lot. We're talking 6% now, but it will begin to flatten out as they get towards the top and that right-hander. But for the sprinters, this was a difficult section. Putting so much power in and then having to really get out of the saddle, get in the drops to hit that sprint segment as fast as they can, because that's where it's at. It doesn't matter about the first across the line. You got to hit that sprint segment as fast as you can to carry that speed through and hopefully get the points.
Well, Mark Santo from Beast Mode now again coming up through the 4. Seggers from What Squad is there. You can see now just coming on to the wheel of David Darn from the separate Beast Mode squad. He's now putting in some great power. Danny's coming up through the pack from the Ospreys. 8 watts per kilo I've just seen, and SC as well from the Watt squad in there too. Some nice riders moving up through this race here. Christoph Thiem, he's the GC rider from the Beast Mode squad. Interesting to see him really to the fore as well, and not missing out that team. Well, I have to say, on paper, when I took a look at that Beast Mode Lion squad, Thiem, Walter, Santo, Fenderich, Luther, and Christoph Thiem being the wild card, you sort of look at that on paper and you think that is a squad that's going to dominate, and it really is here today in Yorkshire.
Talk about a stacked team, but it's great. It's great watching these riders of that caliber attacking this course with the power that they can bring to the table. It's just seeing those orange numbers flash up at this part of the race must say everything you need to know about how hard these teams are working.
Well, at the 19.2 kilometre marker, they are through that second King of the Mountains. They are now heading towards the finish at the 27.5 kilometre mark. And that Alpha race really starting to come alight as they drive towards the finish. In the beta race, Sousa and Seb, in fact, Sousa's going to go over the top of Seb for the second sprint. Now, my money's on Sousa being the wild card on that squad, the GC rider going first across the line. But you can see them coming through thick and fast behind. And there's a number of GC riders in there, Nathan, indicating to me those are the wild cards doing the business.
Absolutely. And that's what we had in our team. Our GC had the wild card as well. So I put it on him to make sure that he was in contact with those sprinters as they came over the top. And that's exactly what he did. But now this is where it's going to get interesting because especially in the A's where they've finished the segments and now they've got to contend with the rest of the race and more so contend with Pot Bank, which is a very steep, very short 700 meter, 7.7% climb, and having to deal with that at this stage of the race is going to hurt some legs.
Yeah, it is indeed. And I've walked it in real life. I've not ridden it. It was steep enough to walk up, I'll tell you.
Okay.
But this pack are absolutely motoring now onto the climb. And this is the B race. We've got Stevie in here. Hartley's in here. Sousa's in here. Hauser's in here. David from the Watt squad. Hudders is in the mix. Benotti as well. One of the things I always love with these races is the range of countries represented in the same team. It really is riders across nations coming together and racing.
It's a real union of riders, isn't it? I love watching it. We just get to see Australian flags fly up in ours, but having all these different nationalities all participating, all being members of the same team is just fantastic to see. I'm sure it puts a bit of a strain on the communication side of things, but at the same time, it must be really enjoyable to watch. Now, it was one of these races, or this particular race was one of the most enjoyable races I've done in quite some time. The level of communication in our team was quite high. There was lots of talking, lots of encouragement, and I expect that in these teams, it'll be very similar.
Well, boom, right on the front here. Stromberg is in the mix as well. Van Vin is there. Stevie is in the mix. Hartley, Hauser. You can see the riders here as they are starting to stretch on the group. And it's the ART climber here. AR Boom from Great Britain, who is doing the business on the front of the pack at the moment. The stretch is on behind. Hauser on the back of the group. And again, the climbers here. In fact, Hauser is the GC rider from the Butos squad, really making sure he's paying attention at the front of the race. The rest here, all part and parcel of those climbers who are looking for that fastest through the section on this Yorkshire KOM reverse.
That is really smart. Having your GC just tack on the back of these climbers to not lose touch with that front as they come around this corner and straight into another descent is tactically a great idea. He can then sit with the climbers as they finish off this race and hopefully ensure some really good finishing points. Now, the other thing to note here is that all the bike frames in this race are neutralized, so they're all on the same frames. The wheel choices are up for grabs. So I've been watching some of the wheel choices. I think we've got the Envies there. So it'll be interesting to see what wheel choices some of the riders have made. I did see a couple of riders having the full disc set up in our race, and I really did feel sorry for them, especially as we were hitting the tops of those climbs.
Well, the Race R3 squad, the Brutus squad there, Dentmark being the climber, Carson being the GC rider. It's going to be interesting to see where they take this now. We've got a group of 5 riders off the front of the main pack. The main pack being headed by a coalition rider at the moment. They're around 2-3 seconds back. And, wow, it's still a big stretch on the group behind. But now we have 5 riders in the beta race off the front on the descent. and really are making the most of the opportunity. At the 19.7 kilometre marker, they still have some way to go until they get to that finish line. But look at this, making the most of that opportunity. There you go. We swing on that top right-hand corner screen. I do love those graphics where you get that overhead shot and you can see where the groups are on the road. It's like having your own helicopter flying during the race.
It's fantastic, isn't it? And that group, that chasing group, isn't that far behind these climbers. Now, these climbers will probably put some power down coming into this, but no, there we go. So they're all starting to group back up again. And I dare say there'll be some communication going on to the climbers. Slow down, let your teammates get back on so they can all use the draft and use their climbers to help get them to that finish, which is now only about 10 Ks away.
And this is where the strategy and tactics come into play as opposed to just the strength of the rider. Because if this was a scratch race, it's the fastest, strongest rider to the line first. But it's not a scratch race. It's a points race. And you've got to deploy your team to the best of its ability in the right places. And as you say, Nathan, that could well be calling back your sprinters now because the sprinter's job is done and asking them to help bring a GC rider back onto a group, for example.
That's exactly it. And that was one of the things we specified in our team strategy. So if the sprinters could help the GC nurse them back to the front, if that was possible, that's what we were going to do. Now, fortunately, in our ride, our GC was feeling quite strong and was up the front after that last climb. So there was no issue there for the sprinters, myself included. Our race was pretty much done by this stage. And so we were really just battling for our own finishing points, our own individual rider finishing points, which does keep everyone accountable. But certainly the front of the ride, in my mind, was going to consist of mostly the climbers and the GCs. And that's what we're seeing here.
Well, and it's really interesting. This is the beta race at the moment, and the pack all coming back together somewhat slowly at the moment on the climb, but it is still reforming. And you can see the pace has come right off. Whittam and Sousa at the moment, 2.3 watts per kilo dropping, really trying to get this group together and to make the most of the transition because there's still 7.5 kilometres of racing to go. It's not the full pack that came out of the pen together. A selection has been made. There are 74 riders out on the course in this race at the moment. There's around 25 riders in that leading group, but they have had some form of communication going on, and I love technology. It really does enable that communication to take place across the world. But they are reconvening now for this final 6K, and the pace, well, they really are enabling some recovery to take place at the moment.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we've been talking about, Emma, which is the climbers now, their initial job's over. Their job now is to try and get their GC to the finish line as best as possible, as high up in a finishing position as they can. Remember, the GC points only count in comparison to the other GC riders in the group. So even if the GC is in amongst the climbers there, their points only really count in comparison to the other GCs that are riding. So you would expect to see the climbers now being told, nurse, keep your GC there, keep them at the back of the group, try and let them recover, keep the pace high as they finish into the remaining couple of climbs in this race.
Yeah, one of the things they also do want, though, is they do want the riders across the line. You don't want your sprinter to sit up and finish 30 minutes later. You want your climber to get as good a finishing position as possible. Now we've got the alpha race at the top of your screen, the beta race on the bottom of your screen. You can see there's around 3 kilometres difference. This race here, well, there's just over 2 kilometres to go. We're back in with Murphy, Lawrence, Walter and Thiem. Walter's now up and out of the saddle and pushing on those pedals. He is one of the climbers in that beast mode squad. Mark Santo, the other climber on the beast mode Lions squad, is also in this leading group. I imagine the GC rider Christoph Thiem, who you can see on your screen at the moment, is being protected by those riders and they are working for him. He's in there as well. Danny's is in there from the Ospreys. Another really strong rider. Those beast mode squads are going to have to watch. David Darn is in there too. Meany is in there. from Watt is in there. He's one of their GC riders as well. So a number of these riders here positioning themselves well for the finish.
I'm surprised to see one of the level riders there, one of the sprinters in this front pack, which is just fantastic. So it really does show the level of the capabilities of these riders here to be able to be at the front here after having put in some pretty significant efforts on those segments. And now they're all laser focused on how is this finish going to happen. And they're coming into the downhill now. They'll all be trying to recover as best as possible, especially the GCs in this group. They'll be looking to try and sit towards the back there, use the draft of the remaining riders there. But certainly having a couple of sprinters in this front group is just fantastic to see.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Just taking a little look at the time gaps, this group now 22 seconds clear of 2 riders, then a larger group at 40 seconds, and Compton on the front of that pack. So Santo, rider in 13th position at the moment, 13 riders in this leading group, as they are now within 1 kilometre of the finish. We're going to take a run to the finish line with Murphy, Lawrence, Walter and Theme. A number of those riders in this pack. It's going to be interesting to watch. I'm just steering it, looking, and we're on a descent at the moment, and there's a number of riders just taking as much draft as possible and surfing the back of that pack, watching and waiting, and they're watching and waiting for that finish line. They've got around 500 metres to go, and we've got a launch off the front. We've got a big launch off the front, and it's Camille Danny's from the Ospreys who's gone hard off the front here at 9 watts per kilo. Danny's, the Frenchman, has launched, and now the rest of the riders come in. Oh, it's Kamiuski from Sisu who's gone up and over the top as they take the left-hand corner. There's the banner, they can see it. Kino is coming, so is Level, so are the riders from behind, but have they left it too late? Have they left it too late and run out of room? Meany from Siso is the rider on the front. He's going to go under the banner in 1. That was a great move from Danny's to lead them out, but he didn't get the reward of the win today. What a move. What a finish. What a sprint, Nathan.
I'm out of breath just watching that. That was fantastic. I did see a couple of the GCs there, though, in front. They're going to be super stoked with how they've finished this race, especially the first race of the series. They will take a lot of confidence in this race into race 2, knowing how this all works now and being able to stomp that finish like they did. We've got, the Watt team and Keo as well there. So it's fantastic to see and really impressive power.
Yeah, and they really did get the jump, and Danny's went early, but he just went too early. And I think a number of those beast mode riders, they'd done so much work in that alpha race. They just didn't have the legs when it came to that finish, but they were so dominant elsewhere. And it's going to be interesting to see the makeup of the points that they've taken away to see which one of those alpha teams comes out on top today. Well, we drop back in with the beta teams because that race is not over yet. They've still got 3 kilometres to go here. And yet again, a small group on the front. 8 riders in this group, so an even smaller group in the lead than before. But the gap is much shorter, Nathan, just 10 seconds back to the pack.
They'd have to be watching that really closely, wouldn't they? Only having 10 seconds, and we saw the speed of the A Alpha team coming through. These guys would have to be watching that, trying to keep their power up. Now, I am seeing only one GC rider in this group. All the others are climbers, and this is one of the things we predicted would happen, and certainly that's the case in this beta group too. So whether he can hang on or whether this group, this chasing group, is going to be able to shut down that 10 seconds, well, that's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it really is made up of a large number of the climbers, doesn't it? Hauser from the Buto squad is one of the GC riders in here. I think Stevie is a climber. Yep, I think you might be right, Nathan. But I tell you something, there's a big push from behind because they have noticed the gap coming down. There's now 7 seconds back to the chase riders, and now the chase is on as they are on this final climb on the run towards the finish. This is catch the front of the race. That's the call gone out in the headset.
Yeah, with 2Ks to go, there is enough time for some of these riders to bridge across if they put a dig in now just over the top. If they let off the pedals and sort of sit up here a little bit, they're not going to catch them. But if they can keep that power on over the top, and maybe that's not the case here because we're seeing 180, 100, 200 watts coming over the top here. But if they can put the pace on, they might be able to catch them just as they come into that downhill. But it's still a significant gap. We're also seeing 14, 15 seconds there. Yeah. It's a tough ask this late in the race.
That's the issue, though, isn't it? Because when you're a chasing rider and you see the gap start to come down, you push on. But what you've got to remember is, as those seconds close down, the leading group go, oh, they're getting closer. Right, now's the time to turn up the power. And then they can indeed, well, there's a reason they're a leading group and not be a chasing group themselves, and they push away, and they've gone exactly as this group have done off the front. Though Hartley from the Level squad is a couple of seconds off the back of the pack. The rest of the pack, which again includes a lot of the climbers, Nathan, and a few of the GC riders, is 12 seconds back, and then another group 24 seconds back. So Hartley's doing a fabulous job of trying to come over. But Souza, the only GC rider, it looks like, in this mix.
Yeah, so all those climbers there, they did their job. They opened that gap up over that final climb segment, and now they've got that gap in their back pocket. Can they hold on to it, though? That's going to be the difficult thing. I mean, we've still got, a bit over 500, 600 meters left, and this is where things are going to get spicy. You're going to see that chasing group try and put the power down as much as they can coming into the last few hundred meters of this race.
Well, I'll tell you, actually, we've got 2 GC riders in the group because Hauser and Souza are both GC riders, one on different squads. They're coming around the corner, though, and they are indeed going to see the banner, and it is Stevie off the front here. But the pace coming down from Seb from the Butos, one of the climbers in the mix, and guess who he's leading out? He's got to be leading out his GC rider, and he is, because Souza is in the mix. Souza, I think, is going to be the first GC rider over the line in the B category. They go underneath the banner, and it is indeed Souza, the first GC rider over the line. Hauser, well, he's going to be the second, and the chase is on behind because the numbers coming out of the chase group, we've got 8, 9, 10 watts per kilo from Coalition at the moment because they are dialing it towards the line, trying to pick up those points. Those are indeed GC riders, and it may well be 3rd and 4th in that GC competition.
Well, it looks like Souza might have actually taken the crown on that. I was just watching the replay here, and if we look closely, I think Souza might have actually gotten across the line first. We'll just see this now.
It was a really good move, utilising the draft of those earlier riders, and a really, really good move. I'm now watching intently. I think he did. I think you're right. He did indeed take the win. Look at that.
He might have just gotten it.
Watts per kilo at the end of the Yorkshire.
It was fantastic. Like, to see how they just played that out with that lead out, unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, really, really good. What fabulous racing. It's been a really great start for the Super 6 today. And as I said earlier on, you can indeed head over to the Flamme Rouge Racing. We'll have the website up very shortly for you on the screen, where you can head to for the results today, because of course there's a little bit of churning to be done in those points. Not all the riders are across the line yet, so you will have to head over there to see which team comes out on top. What's your takeaway, Nathan? What's your best bit? There you go. It's right up there. Flamme Rouge Racing.
There we go. Head over to that. You'll get to see the results. You'll also get to see the information about the racing series. So if you do have any questions there, and if you are interested in trying to get a team into this, all the information's there, so definitely go and check it out. But my takeaway here was that every team seemed to have a slightly different take on the strategy. So it was really all about the team dynamics, team tactics, and this is one of the things I love about this particular style of racing. You so rarely find it in other racing events, and this series has it in buckets. So it's been really great to watch. And some of those riders, the tactical positioning has been phenomenal. It's been on point and something that you just is just awesome to watch, if I'm honest.
Yeah, the teamwork and the level of communication and the community of racers that we've seen, absolutely fabulous. And you're right, Nathan, it's not too late to join. If you have watched today's racing and you've thought, oh, I've got some riding buddies and we really want to be part of that, you can be indeed. Head over to the Flamme Rouge Racing website and see what you need to do to get on board. But there is still time. The community of racers, it doesn't matter what level you are at, what location you are in, there is a region with a time zone that should work for you. And of course, the racing continues and our teams will be battling it out over the next few months, because that semi-final, well, that is in March, and those worldwide finals, the finale of the Super Six, takes place in March as well, before all the clocks change and worldwide time zones become a challenge for getting the teams together.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, seeing all those different nationalities, all those different countries coming together in different teams does make it a little bit of a headache to try and make sure everyone is on the right time zone. They're all in the right pen at the right time. But these teams have done it, and it's something that's really unique to esports and fantastic to watch. And as I said, I'd love to be a fly on the wall listening to some of the Discord banter going on throughout that race. It would have been phenomenal. I know there's a few
going on right now.
Yes, yep. And there's also when you get to the website, there's a link to the Discord channel for FRR, and there's a lot of Super Six information in that channel. You'll get to see a lot of the streams from the riders in this race, so you can go and listen to what they're saying, what they're talking about during the race, and maybe take away a few tips.
Well, if you don't want to join in the racing, you can of course follow and share the content and support the racers by watching, and that way we are going to be following what's going on. And Nathan, it's been a really great start. I'm sure you are looking forward to the next race, and I'm sure you've already thought potentially about new tactics and strategy that you may well engage.
Well, Navigate 8 is the next race.
Yeah.
And so, yep, we've already started working our plan out to see how that's going to unfold. But Emma, I've got to say, it's been an honor commentating with you in this race. It was a fantastic race for us to kick off on, and I'm really looking forward to how this all plays out in the subsequent races.
Well, until next time, enjoy your racing. Keep your eyes peeled on the Super Six, because it is going to be great team competitions all the way through till March. We will indeed be seeing you then. Well, and until then, stay safe. See you again soon. Goodbye.
Thanks very much.